Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Diane Pfaff, and I live at 20 4th Street. On the night of March 20th, the boulder landed on our house, landed on our garage, and crushed our Honda Civic. It snapped utility poles and crushed the water main 4 feet under the street. Our other Honda had $5,000 worth of damage. We are grateful no one was hurt or killed. We were home at the time, as was our son and 3 of his friends. Miraculously, no one was hurt when we fled from the house and there were down live wires everywhere. 2 of their 3 cars were also damaged, 1 totaled. It all could have been a lot different. Our son and his friends were just 10 minutes from heading out to a late movie. They would have gotten into that crushed Honda. So I'm always thinking about how things could have been so much worse. We are grateful to the city staff who stayed all night to fix the water main, who broke up the bowls. The house damage was contained to the garage, and we are able to live in our house. We love our house. While life has largely returned to normal, we have many worries. We have a denial on our insurance claim for the house. Earth movement, we are told, is a standard exclusion in most policies. But our biggest worry is a similar-sized boulder that remains on the cliff that is situated directly over the body of our house. While the risk of that hillside may have been miscalculated previously, I think the lesson of the boulder is clear. It is likely to be as big or bigger than the previous one. A boulder of that size has the potential to kill someone. It may damage our house beyond salvage. It appears that things are stuck. The homeowner states that he does not have the resources to stabilize that boulder. City administration states that it is on private property. The homeowner has offered the property to the city, but the city has taken no action. Meanwhile, the city monitors the hillside once a week. I am not a geologist, but I've read that hillsides can be highly unpredictable, especially given that hillside where it's undercut and the nature of the makeup of that hillside. I like to think of myself as a reasonably competent and responsible adult. But I have to say I really don't know what to do. And I wonder what you would do in my situation. We are open to advice and we need your help. We understand the situation is complicated. But we hope that means that it won't be ignored. We hope our elected officials will help us to find options.
Anybody else?
Good evening. I'm Michael Weiser. I live at 60 Fairview. It's been several weeks since the boulder fell from the cliffside above 4th Street. In that time, I've begun to trace the history of the cliff and try to get a handle on this situation. The situation, as one local attorney agrees, is that our current circumstance is the extension of an existing and ongoing hazard, neither created by the current city administration nor the current property owners, but allowed to exist from its earliest incarnation through the inaction of earlier city administrations to safeguard the public. While my neighbors and I now own the properties above and below the cliffside, the city exists in perpetuity to ensure the public welfare. The Athens Brick Company owned and mined what now constitutes several properties above the cliff face and the area of 4th Street and the plateau below. The Brick Company went bankrupt in 1917 and appears to have abandoned the site at that time. An aerial photo of the city of Athens in 1932 shows the remains of the mining site and the access road that was to become 4th Street. Sometime after 1932, the city established 4th Street. By not taking the potentially dangerous cliffside into account, the city leaders of the time did not act to secure the public safety. Then, by allowing the area beneath the cliffside to be rezoned as a residential area, without first stabilizing the cliffside, the city again did not act in the public interest with regard to the clear and present danger of the looming cliffside. Finally, when a sizable rock fell in the 1930s at the same time that homes were being planned and built on that plateau, the city again did not act to remedy a dangerous situation. The rock can still be seen on 4th Street today. I think it is clear that throughout this history, the city did not act in several instances when it had the duty and the obligation to ensure the safety of all. Because the cliffside was not properly graded and stabilized at the time of the Brick Company closure, 95 years of wear and erosion, as well as tree growth and root insinuation, and the ravages of the freeze and thaw that happen every winter have been allowed to go on without pause. The entire cliffside is of a similar makeup along its entire expanse, and the possibility of movement occurring elsewhere along the face of the exact nature of what we have recently witnessed is a real danger. The same exact forces that acted upon the section of the cliff below my home have been at work along the entire face for nearly a century. The boulder that recently fell may be the first event in the beginning of a tipping point in the nature of the evolution of the cliffside. If this is so, are there other boulders along the cliffside waiting for a hard rain to dislodge? This is an issue of all the properties above and below the cliffside. I have spoken with all of my neighbors, and we would be willing to cede our portion of the cliff to the city. This situation has become a larger issue of the public interest being neglected in the past and public danger being revealed in the present. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tim Pfaff. I also live at 20 4th Street, and I wanted to echo what my wife and what my neighbor just said. The city crews did a great job that night of coming to our rescue, and we are very grateful, and we have a lot of confidence in Andy Stone and his team. And it seemed as though he was on the road to doing a thorough remediation of the hillside. And I want to quote from a correspondence that he wrote on March 23rd. I quote, "It appears the piece that broke free was due to a fissure in the sandstone, roots growing down through the fissure, undermining, and recent rains. We inspected the night of the fall, then again during daylight the following days. On the 22nd, I reviewed the site with Jamie Hendershot, an engineer with the Ohio Department of Transportation, who has experience dealing with hanging rocks above state routes in our area. We observed another large piece of sandstone immediately adjacent to where the rock broke loose from, which is also undermined. There appears to be some cracks on either side of the remaining piece. If we made the assumption they go back at 90-degree angles and meet, then we have a potentially hazardous situation." To my knowledge, there's been no follow-up report that has thoroughly examined that to see if that is in fact the case. I know that the city has placed monitoring pins up there, but I feel like the monitoring pins are only going to show how far the rock falls onto our house from the cliffside above, and I don't think that's really an adequate solution. So we're looking to you for leadership here. Help us to be able to live in our house. There are a lot of people that walk up and down this street every day. There are 2 little girls that live next door. People walk their dogs, go running and biking up and down that street all day. It's a public safety issue, and we need some help. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a hand over here that I missed? Mr. Malcolm?
My name is Christine Miles, and I also live on 4th Street. I'm a neighbor to the Pfaffs and live almost directly below Mr. Weiser. My family has resided at 8 4th Street since 1988, and during that time we have witnessed the delicate nature of the soil in the area personally. During our residency in that place, the masons in the parking lot just below us began to cut away at the hillside below us. And we realized that when we lost 10 feet of our backyard, just that quickly. Because of that, we enlisted the help of some people from the Bureau of Land Management. They came in, did an analysis of the soil makeup and rock makeup. There's a lot of clay that's interlaced with other types of very slippery soils and shales in that area that make for a very unstable circumstance. Because of that, all drainage, all movement is just amazingly important to keep an eye on and supervise. During our time working on remediating our problem, one of their suggestions was that there should not be the use of any heavy machinery in that area. And I had not reread that report until after the fall of this amazing boulder, and that the ongoing use of, and thank God, the use of the heavy machinery that was used to carry away those, I mean, how else would that have been done? But looking back, it's frightening to think of what additional damage may have been done on the upslope of that hillside. We were also informed that there is a term called the natural angle of repose, which nature will not be denied. And because of that, soil will continue to slip until that natural angle of repose and that angle is reached. We have been able to stop the movement in our area. It's going to take some help for the thefts to do the same, and if it's continued to erode underneath that boulder, I am just fearful for their good and that of the citizenry. Thank you for letting me speak.
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Doreen Minor. I live on Fort Street, and I'm just here to support everyone on Fort Street. It is a lovely road to live on. The city have done a magnificent job in helping, but it is a constant danger. There's slippage, mud. From the horrendous rains that we've had recently, the mud is starting to fall, and you feel that the rocks that were broken up and were put at the bottom of the hillside are in danger too. And I do wonder about the tree that's there and how much movement is actually allowed before we really should be starting to be concerned. I admit I'm completely ignorant on this, but when you hear the readings about on a weekly basis as to how much slippage there has been, how much movement there has been, how do we know when to take this even more seriously? And again, I will end by saying that the mud is a real problem. It's an adventure living on Fort Street at the moment. But I do thank the city for all that they've done in their tremendous work in keeping this going. Thank you very much.
One time, come back next week. Come back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
And a response to give her information. I'll do that later.
Later.